The direction of the country coming into focus. A non-stop blitz of campaign visits culminate in one historic night.
National trends trickle down into what happens at home. A race too close to call for weeks. Every vote matters tonight.
In our state, we're learning the new leaders from Greensboro to the governor's mansion, your next superintendent, next state representative, attorney general, and governor, all determined by your voice and your vote.
It's election night in North Carolina. WFMY News 2 at 11 starts right now. No surprise here on election night, we have dead heats up and down the ballot.
Several races, including state attorney general, state superintendent, and lieutenant governor, are just too close to call right now. We do have a few races with winners.
Here's one of them. Democrat Josh Stein will be the next governor of North Carolina. The Associated Press and CBS News called this race within an hour of polls closing. In the race for Congress, the incumbent will go back to Washington, representing District 5. Virginia Fox is projected to be Greensboro's new congresswoman. You'll remember redistricting moved things around, including Fox to move to Greensboro. Voters overwhelmingly supported a constitutional amendment clarifying that only U.S. citizens can vote. But the big one is still too close to call. Former President Trump has the early edge in the presidential race in our state. And this is a live look at each of the campaign watch parties. Vice President Harris is camped out at her alma mater, Howard University in Washington, D.C. And former President Trump is monitoring results from West Palm Beach, Florida. Harris voted by mail today and made one final stop to campaign headquarters in D.C.
Former President Donald Trump cast his vote in Florida this morning. We have been following this race extremely closely all night long. We kick things off with WFMY News 2's Ben Briscoe with a closer look at the vote count in our state.
What we are seeing is that former President Donald Trump is outperforming how he did last time around in certain areas. Take a look, for example, at Guilford County. Tonight, he has 38% of the vote with 78% of the estimated total in. So that 38% is slightly better than the 37.8% he had last time around. Last time around in Forsyth County, he had 42.4%. This time, 43%. Adding up slowly these numbers across the state. Mecklenburg County is where we really want to draw attention because it's been a big question mark for most of the night. We've been waiting for them to come in. We now see with 95% of their vote estimated in, Trump carries 32% of that. Last time around, he only had 31%. So he is slightly outperforming in those areas. When you look at the whole state, that adds up.
Ben, thank you. As we mentioned earlier, Attorney General Josh Stein is the projected winner in the North Carolina governor's race with a significant lead over Mark Robinson. We have two crews in Raleigh tonight with each camp. We start with WFMY News 2's Kevin Kennedy, who heard from the projected governor-elect.
Yeah, good evening from downtown Raleigh here at the Marriott Hotel, where the Democratic Watch Party, as you can tell, continues behind me. However, slowly starting to dwindle out a little bit. That's because the headliner has left the building. As we talked about earlier, Governor-elect now, Josh Stein, spoke about 2 hours ago to what was then a pretty crowded and packed audience, certainly kind of revving them up. He said that he is honored to be our next governor of North Carolina. He then talked about how the state has some of the best people. He then wanted to make sure that he mentioned Western North Carolina, saying that his heart goes out to Western North Carolina, and he promised to go ahead and show up for them and to help rebuild. He said he believes in the promise of this state, and it doesn't matter where you come from, that shouldn't limit your potential. He talked about investing in North Carolina, all North Carolinians, and he specifically kind of shouted out teachers in regards to them. He said that our state has some big challenges, but bigger dreams. He then addressed working together, Democrats and Republicans coming together to create a better state. Here's a little bit about what he had to say about 2 hours ago.
Thank you so much. It is a treat to be with you. Thank you, Governor Cooper, for that very generous introduction. And thank you, North Carolina. Tonight, the people of North Carolina resoundingly embraced a vision that's optimistic, forward-looking, and welcoming, a vision that's about creating opportunity for every North Carolinian.
Yeah, Josh Stein thanked his campaign staff. He thanked his wife, his kids. He then basically said, look, tonight is a chance to celebrate, but tomorrow we get back to work. We're live in downtown Raleigh. I'm Kevin Kennedy, WFMY News 2.
Kevin, thank you. Stein's opponent, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, watched the returns just 3 blocks away from Stein's event.
WFMY News 2's Amber Lake has been there all night and heard what he said immediately afterward.
Mark Robinson spoke for about 7 minutes and never congratulated Josh Stein when the race was called. Now, his head strategist spoke with us shortly after that speech was made and said that up until that point, he was unaware if Robinson even made a phone call to Stein. But Robinson did say that he fought the good fight, but he was expecting a victory tonight.
So I'm standing here now, and I'm not sad one lick. I'm a little disappointed. I'm disappointed for you because I wanted this so bad for you. I wanted this for the people of North Carolina, not for me. I wanted it for them. I wanted to represent them. I wanted to take their issues before the folks of North Carolina and really have those issues addressed.
Robinson says his head is held high because he ran a race where he did not have to lie, unlike his opponent. One thing Robinson says he hasn't done is shed tears, and says he won't be doing that tonight either because he has already accomplished so much.
Because only if you've been in the deepest valley can you ever know how magnificent it is to stand on the highest mountain. Folks, I have stood on the highest mountain. Going from being a factory worker to being the first black lieutenant governor of North Carolina has been the honor of my lifetime.
Robinson says there's still a lot of work to do for him as Lieutenant Governor over the next couple months, and he plans to do whatever is needed for North Carolinians. He says after the first of the year, him and his wife plan to spend some much needed time with their grandchildren. Then he's going to take a step back and figure out what his next move is. Live in Raleigh tonight, Amber Lake, WFMY News 2.
Amber, thank you. One of the big things we've monitored tonight, the discrepancy between what we saw in the governor's race compared to what we are seeing in the presidential race.
Yeah, one race has looked extremely close for months. The other hasn't looked competitive for weeks. Let's bring back Ben Briscoe for a closer look at these.
Yeah, so Mark Robinson ended up losing by about 733,000 votes, including in his home county of Guilford County, where Robinson only took 28.1% of the vote. We expected that. Guilford County is heavily Democratic, so he wasn't expected to do well there. What's really interesting, though, I want you to pay attention to this big patch of blue up here in some more rural areas. So this is the governor's race. If we flip over to the presidential race, you can see a lot more red than you see in the governor's race. That is because more people who voted for a Republican president voted against Robinson, to the tune of statewide a difference of 733,000 votes, giving the race to Stein.
Ben, thank you. Let's move now to 3 state races: Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, and State Superintendent. All of these races are too close to call. Hal Weatherman, for example, holds the edge over Rachel Hunt in the Lieutenant Governor's race. Many will recognize Hunt's name because of her father, former Governor Jim Hunt. Weatherman is a Wake Forest law grad. Jeff Jackson and Dan Bishop have traded leads all night in the battle for the AG's office. You can see Jeff Jackson with a slight lead, 52% over Dan Bishop at 48%. 81% of precincts are reporting in this race. Green chose not to have a watch party tonight, instead opting to monitor results in private. But you can see here Mo Green with 51% of the vote over Michelle Morrow with 49%. Again, this is for the Superintendent of Public Instruction. Now, Green again chose not to have a watch party tonight, instead opting to monitor results in private. WFMY News 2's Itanese McMiller heard from both candidates tonight.
Tonight, we'll find out who will lead the charge in public education. The role of our state superintendent of public instruction is a big one. They oversee 3,500 schools and nearly 1.4 million students. Mo Green is running on the Democrat side, and Michelle Morrow is the Republican candidate. Green has an educational background, serving as a superintendent of Guilford County Public Schools for 7.5 years. And before that, he was a deputy superintendent for Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. Morrow is a political outsider, but has experience as a homeschool teacher and was a nurse for more than 30 years.
I taught for 9 years. I've been a nurse for 32 years. I think that all of those things, whether it's the mental health crisis, whether it's just the drug issues, the lack of safety in our schools, whether it's just getting back to some excellence in education, I feel like I've run the gamut.
I know what to do. And so it's just a matter then of elevating that to an entire state level. And being sure that we think about the sorts of things that are necessary to improve student outcomes, which includes certainly trying to request more funding for our public schools, elevating our educators, certainly engaging those parents and other community members in this work.
Both Green and Morrow support teacher pay raises, literacy instruction, and improving school safety. Live here in Greensboro, Denise McMiller, WFMY News 2.
Hi, Denise, thank you. Now let's transition to congressional races. Guilford County will have 3 new representatives in D.C. Greensboro will have a new congresswoman. Longtime Republican Representative Virginia Fox is the projected winner in her race. The hotly contested District 6 race, which covers High Point, has a projected winner. Trump-backed lobbyist Addison McDowell holds a large lead over his third-party challenger. McDowell all but locked this seat up in the primary when former Congressman Mark Walker opted against a runoff and instead joined the Trump campaign. Incumbent Kathy Manning did not run because of redistricting.
Now to incumbent Richard Hudson. He is cruising to victory in the District 9 race. His new boundaries include eastern Guilford County, plus all of Alamance and Randolph. He's been in office for more than a decade, getting 55% of the support, with 43% precincts reporting. Let's circle back now to the race at the top of the ticket. This is what everybody wants to know: who will be our next president? In North Carolina, 51% are voting for Donald Trump, 48% have gone to Kamala Harris. Let's check back in now with Ben Briscoe with a look at how the Electoral College is shaking out.
You know, just like North Carolina, the other battlegrounds are still too close to call right now. Trump is in the lead with 214 Electoral College votes compared to Harris's 179. But let's take a deeper dive into those battleground states. Arizona, Trump's leading by about 2,000 votes. Georgia, 142,000. Michigan, 82,000. Still tied in Nevada because the polls aren't closed there yet. North Carolina, you know, he's leading by about 136,000. Pennsylvania, 182, and Wisconsin, 62,000. It is looking like, just from this, that Trump will take the lead. However, a lot of votes still to come in are from Democratic areas. That is why these states have not been called yet. The statisticians are still waiting for those numbers to come in before they can decide who wins those states and who wins the whole election.
Ben, thank you. Let's rally through some results at the state level now. In the state Supreme Court race, Jefferson Griffin holds the early edge over Allison Riggs, but you can see and since I said that, it has now flipped. Allison Riggs now has a very slight lead over Jefferson Griffin. Griffin currently serves on the Court of Appeals and is a UNC grad. Riggs was appointed by Governor Cooper last year. In Guilford County, State Representative Tracy Clark is on track to keep her spot in Raleigh. The 3-time Tar Heel was appointed to the Senate, or excuse me, was appointed to that seat in August.
Republican Alan Branson is also expected to keep his seat. He replaced longtime Representative John Hardister when Hardister resigned earlier this year. Alan Branson with 55% of the vote. Ragsdale alum and Democrat State Representative Cecil Brockman looks like he's going to be winning re-election handily. The High Point native is going back for his 6th term in the State House. He has 63% of the vote at this time. Senate Leader Phil Berger has been the face of the Republican Party in the state Senate for 2 decades now. It appears things will be staying that way as he holds a huge lead tonight. He declined our interview request today. He said he may make himself available tomorrow. Berger first got elected in 2000, then quickly rose the ranks. He has been the head of the GOP in the Senate since 2004.
Guilford County State Representative Pricey Harrison also appears on track to return to Raleigh 20 years after she first got elected. We talked with her about the continued support for 2 decades.
Been 20 years, and it's really been an honor of my life to be able to serve my constituents. I've been various districts, so a little bit hard to keep track because I think I'm in my 5th as a result of redistricting, but it's been a wonderful experience, and I'm very honored and excited to be able to serve another 2 years.
There do not appear to be any election night surprises for Democratic incumbent State Senator Michael Garrett. The UNCG grad is on track to win and head back for his 4th term. We caught up with him tonight as well.
It's overwhelming feeling of pride that the work that we do on behalf, and when I say we, it's my entire family, because being in public service takes our entire household, my wife and my children. So it's just real rewarding to see people supporting and appreciating the work that we're doing.
Let's look now at the effort to amend the state constitution. When you cast your ballot, you saw a question at the bottom asking you about who should be able to vote. The Associated Press projects the measure requiring that only U.S. citizens can vote will pass by a strong majority. To be clear, that's already state and federal law. Leaders say the amendment simply clarifies language.
In Guilford County, voters decided whether to raise the sales tax. It looks like that measure will be failing again. Voters have rejected this measure several times in recent elections. The county wants to use the money to give raises to teachers. 40% are for it. A majority, 60%, are against it. WFMY News 2 Sydney Moore has watched the results come in with county and school leaders. She joins us live now with an update.
And ballots are still being counted when it comes to this race, according to the State Board of Elections website. Just like you said, Julie, 60% of voters are voting against the sales tax increase, while 40% of voters are voting for it. Now, if voting for it wins, this would help boost teacher pay. Now, to put things into perspective, the 1/4 cent sales tax increase is a fraction of a penny. Guilford Education Alliance reps use this example, saying it's basically 5 cents on a $20 pizza. If voters vote yes, it would help increase pay for teachers and frontline workers. One of the representatives spoke about her hopes for taxpayers voting in favor of the increase.
We want to retain teachers, we want to retain bus drivers, we want to retain custodians and cafeteria workers. And again, these are people who every day are taking care of our kids.
And Guilford County would join 46 other counties in our state who have voted yes for this increase in the past. Live in Guilford County, Sydney Moore, WFMY News 2.
Sydney, thank you. It is now 11:16 on election night. We still do not have a winner in the race for president in our state or nationally. The latest results show that Donald Trump, 51%, has the lead in North Carolina. Kamala Harris with 48%. This race has been in a dead heat for weeks, according to the polls.
We will take another look at the latest results in the race for president. Plus, we'll break down some key decisions in the triad.
Stick with us as we watch the race for power unfold in real time. We'll be right back.